Hello, welcome back to the 21 Pilots lore explanation, I suppose. I wanted to make one more video talking about the ending of the lore because we've gotten to the end now. I wanted to kind of like add on to this slideshow and give an explanation to the ending because I was actually really surprised to see that a lot of people watched my video and were saying some really nice things about how like I was able to explain it very well. So I'm really glad that I could be of help for people who wanted to learn about the lore, but like I understand it's really complicated and really confusing at times, and I'm really glad that I was able to put it in a way that was a little bit easier to understand. Today we're going to be going through everything from the contract to the ending of the lore. However, first, before we do that, I really just super briefly want to go over everything from the Clancy Tour because it kind of does directly tie into where the story is headed with Clancy. These are all slides that if you saw the previous video, you've already seen these slides. I haven't changed them. I'm going to put up a timestamp on the screen and you can skip to that. That's where I'd start talking about the new stuff. But really briefly, I just want to go through all this because I think it is important to like what happens with Clancy that we do go over this one more time. The Clancy World Tour basically continued the lore after the events of Paladin Strait, after the music video of Paladin Strait, and we start getting these letters popping up in the tents that came up around the shows, the fan premiere exhibits, and a lot of the letters weren't anything insane. However, when we got to the South America and Europe shows, that's where things started to get really interesting because we got this letter from Torchbearer talking to Clancy where he basically is concerned for Clancy and saying that he believes that he's gone down the wrong path. There's this quote where he says, "We destroyed them so that we don't become them. We must do better, Clancy. We must do better." Torchbearer is very concerned that Clancy may be going down the path of becoming the thing that he swore to destroy. And then Clancy responded with this letter from the last concert from the Clancy World Tour, where he says, "This city needs hope and I alone can give it to them. I will be the example of absolute power. I feel alive again." He's straight off track a lot from where he was, at least at the beginning, where he was with the Banditos and very much like a part of the movement. He's now kind of straight off to like, I want to be the one to not only take down the bishops, but also control the people in the city. And then there was this thing that happened in the last concert of the tour where Torchbearer was going to give him the jacket because that's something that happens in every single concert. He gives him the jacket. He goes down to the stage where Dima is and they face down Dima together, and it's like something that they do together all the time. However, in the last concert, that's not quite what happened. Clancy kind of stood there for a long time, not really accepting the jacket, and then he just walks off stage as if he can't really see Torchbearer, and then Torchbearer has to go down to Dima by himself with the jacket still in hand. So this led a lot of people to theorizing that like Clancy has kind of lost his way because of the fact that the Banditos wear yellow so that the bishops can't see yellow, and the fact that Clancy was kind of looking around as if he can't see Torchbearer. It was like, is Clancy becoming a bishop? What's going on? This is a little scary. And then we got a new album announcement, and so it's actually so crazy thinking about how fast this all happened because that concert happened and then I think it was like 2 weeks later they announced the album. So they announced that Breach is going to be coming in September 2025, and it was after they had made it seem as if they were going to go on another hiatus with the eye like kind of looking like it was going to close. And the album is about breaching trust, which is kind of like, you know, Clancy breaching the trust of Torchbearer. Tyler confirmed that this for sure will be the last album of the lore. And then a few weeks later we get the contract music video, which takes place like right at the end of the Paladin Strait music video. However, the entire thing is kind of happening inside of Tyler's head because as Nico is smearing Clancy, he goes into this like imaginary world where he's surrounded by a bunch of different versions of Clancy who couldn't really break the cycle. It's very much like Nico is like taunting Clancy with this world, with this abyss that he's created for him. Essentially, Nico is like trying to break Clancy and he's trying to force a relapse on Clancy, but not a whole lot really happens in this music video. It's really just like aesthetically a really cool video. At the end of the video, Clancy is able to resist both Nico and Torchbearer. He's able to open his eyes towards Nico and basically show him like, hey, I'm not gonna be taken down by you. But then he also doesn't accept the jacket like we saw in the concert. So it's basically Clancy Clancy forcing everyone out and saying, hey, I'm gonna do my own thing for this. Like, I'm not with the Banditos and I'm also not with the Bishops. Okay, so now we're at the point where all of everything that I say now is like new lore, like new at least from my videos. So now I'm gonna not go as fast with explaining everything. We're gonna take it slowly. I just kind of wanted to get through that part just to like give a recap of like where Clancy is currently. So now we're gonna talk about the Breach era before the album came out, because shockingly not a whole lot happened. From June to August, we really didn't get a lot. We got like nothing, and it was kind of weird because I thought that there would be a second song coming out like very soon, but it took a while for them to even release another song. It felt almost a little scary with how quiet everything was. However, then Tyler posted on Instagram this long note where he basically talks about the fact that the City Walls music video is going to be the end of the lore. Whatever happens in that music video, that's it. And then he also gave us the track list. I think we had already had the track list at that point, but he gave us the track list again, and he made a side note that the last song is Tyler's attempt at understanding the City Walls music video. This was basically, when he posted this was seen as like, the lore is actually coming to an end, guys. Like, this is actually happening. There's really not a whole lot left with the lore. It's just this one video and the album, and that's it. And then the tour that's coming up. But the tour, at least I don't think is really, the tour hasn't happened yet, but I don't think it's going to include anything lore related. But I guess we'll see, because the day that I record this is September 18th, 2025. I'm pretty sure the first concert in Cincinnati happens tonight. So we'll see if I eat up my words and if they end up actually throwing in some lore in this concert. I don't think they're going to, though. That's what I think. Anyways, we also did get Drum Show before the album came out, but it wasn't really lore related, but we did get Drum Show. It's a really good song, really awesome. So, okay, 2 days before Breach comes out on September 10th, 2025, I Am Torchbearer comes out. If you remember, if you can recall back when we were talking about Clancy in the other video, the first thing that we ever got from the Clancy era was this video called I Am Clancy. The video was Clancy talking from his perspective of all of the events that kind of happened leading up to where he is now. And this video is kind of the same, but it's Josh narrating it, and it's Torchbearer instead of Clancy this time. I think watching these videos back to back is so crazy, because a lot of the language that is used is like mimicked from the I Am Clancy video. Like it is like they complement each other so well, I feel like. This is just an example of how like both of the videos start. In the I Am Clancy video, he says, I am trapped, stuck in a cycle I've never been able to break. I want to believe that this is the last time, but I don't know for sure. And then in the I Am Torchbearer video, he says he is trapped, stuck in a cycle he's never been able to break, but I believe this is the last time. And that key difference in that shows just how different this video is. Torchbearer is very hopeful that Clancy is going to break the cycle. He believes that this is going to, he believes that Clancy is going to succeed. And he puts a lot of hope and trust into him, more so than Clancy even puts in himself. We even get this line from the video where Torchbearer kind of reveals that a lot of the Banditos are also even just having doubts in Clancy, but Torchbearer does not give up hope. He still believes in him. He says, why go back into the city of Dima, as he's talking about? He says, yeah, I'm asked that a lot. We go back in for him, for Clancy. And then the video ends with, I am Torchbearer and I will not give up on him. And I feel like this perfectly sets up where we go with the City Walls music video. It's actually just so crazy just how much like this sets up perfectly what happens in City Walls and the tragedy that happens. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen the video, but we'll get into that in a second. And honestly, I was not expecting them to release an I Am Torchbearer video, but now that it's happened, it felt almost inevitable, because it's like, of course, they make an I Am Clancy video. Of course, they're going to make an I Am Torchbearer video. I don't know why I didn't even think of that was even going to be a thing. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the lyrics of Breach. But before so, I want to give a quick trigger warning and just a quick disclaimer. I'm going to be discussing the lyrics of Breach and discuss some upsetting topics like suicide and depression. Just wanted to let you know there's always help. I'm going to leave some links in the description regarding that, but if you want to click off the video, you can do so now. Also, just a quick disclaimer that my interpretation of the lyrics is my interpretation of the lyrics. Like, you can feel free to disagree or agree with my interpretation. It is just my interpretation. I think that's kind of the beautiful thing about music, is that we can all kind of take out different things from it. Okay, so Breach releases on September 12th, 2025. I was actually able to hear the album early because I went to the listening party like a week before. And while I was at that listening party, I was really trying to listen a lot to the lyrics because I knew like, hey, this is like lore. I'm really interested in this story. I want to see where this goes. There were some things that I took away, even just on the first listen, of like major themes that I noticed. And then when I got to listen to the songs again, I really looked at the lyrics, and I feel like I have a really good understanding of a lot of the themes, like recurring themes that we see in this album as it relates to the lore, and that's what I want to talk about. The first thing is that Clancy is still not okay. This is something that we saw a lot in Clancy, in the album Clancy. It was a lot just about Clancy relapsing into this depressive state that he's in, and we're seeing that he's still kind of stuck in that. We have lyrics like from Garbage. The song Garbage is so crazy. I feel like if they had released that like when I was like 13 years old, it would have gone platinum for me because I feel like it perfectly like encapsulates like the feeling of like teenage angst and like just I don't know, like feeling like garbage, just feeling like I don't know, you're kind of worthless and everything. My systems are operating at 20%. So Clancy's still not doing really that good. I feel like a lot of the lyrics and the subject matter that's talked about, it reminded me a lot of their previous albums from like back like Vessel and like even Regional at Best and Self-Titled. And I think it's just because a lot of what Clancy is going through is directly like tied to the really like dark thoughts that Tyler had when he was writing that music. We even get a lot of like lyric callbacks, and in the song City Walls specifically, he literally just repeats the lyric Entertain My Faith, which is a lyric in Holding On to You, and that lyric was very much just Tyler screaming out for some sort of proof of the existence of God or just the existence of a higher power that's like kind of helping him through everything. And like if he were to hear that, it would give him more of a reason to like keep going. And in the context of this song, it's actually really sad hearing it coming back, because then he says, "This is the last time that I try," and then he repeats "Address my soul" like 3 times, and he's like screaming it, and it's tragic. And I feel like in Clancy and even in this album, we see a lot of Clancy like doubting that he is like going to get through what he's going to get through, that he's going to learn anything from what he's going through. And I feel like the lyric "This is the last time that I try" really hits hard, especially with what happens in the City Walls music video. We'll get to that. But it's just really sad to see Clancy this hopeless, I guess, about everything. Another recurring theme that I saw a lot is Tyler kind of like breaking the fourth wall and telling us life advice about the cycle that's kind of happening. One of the songs that really goes over it a lot is Intentions, but I'm not going to talk about Intentions yet until we get to the end of the City Walls music video, because that song specifically is like Tyler interpreting the end of the City Walls music video. So I don't really want to talk about it until we get through that. However, some lyrics that do kind of like talk about the cycle in this album are Raw Fear, where he says, "Learning all that really matters is a slow and painful lesson. It is not pass or fail, but a poisonous progression." Kind of talking about how like you're never really going to get through completely. Like it's never going to be like oh, you passed or you failed, like getting through what you're doing. Bad things and good things are going to keep happening. And if you he says try to microdose to immunity, but you'll never ever get it. So like if you try to really limit how much you are feeling some things or avoid things in your life, then you're not ever going to like learn from it and understand, and you're going to keep hurting from what you're going through. And I feel like just those lyrics are so beautiful. It's so crazy. I feel like there are so many lyrics in this album that like just instantly upon the first time I heard it, I'm just like, this is the most beautiful lyric I've ever heard in my life. Even the lyric at the end of that bridge where he says, "I could build a tower with the times I was pretending," is so, it's such an oddly specific lyric. And the way I interpret it is like, because the bishops have like a tower for every, there's a tower for every bishop in Dima. It's almost like Tyler saying like, I could become a bishop with how much I am feeling, with how badly I am feeling about this insecurity, where I feel like the insecurity that he's talking about is feeling like he is saying that he's okay to people, like he's pretending like everything's fine, but it's really not fine. I don't know. I just think it's such a cool way to word it, and such a, I don't know, just thinking of the Lord, so sad, and it's so good though. I love all these lyrics. We also have these lyrics from Downstairs where I want to focus on the end part where he says, "I might doubt the process like I doubt the start." And I think it is just talking about the cycle in general, and just like how he feels like similar to how he doubted even just beginning this journey of trying to fight back. He feels like while he is fighting back, it's not working, and he's doubting that the process is even working for him. And it's a really sad thing to hear, but it's I think it really just encapsulates where Clancy is right now, though, feeling like he hasn't learned anything from what he's gone through. Another really big thing that, and this was something that I noticed instantly when I listened to the album, mainly because this was stuff that we had kind of already heard from the contract, Clancy has definitely isolated himself. There's like so many songs on this album where he's talking about how he's completely just closed himself off from everyone. The song Center Mass, he says, I pull on my shirt sleeve to cover half my hands, bring my arms closer to my body, get as small as I can. They call it center mass, that part they aim for. So it's like he is like literally physically making himself the smallest that he can possibly be. One, because he's trying to isolate himself, but two, because he doesn't want to be vulnerable. He feels like he says they call it center mass, that part they aim for. Like he feels like he is scared of being really vulnerable. He doesn't want to get hurt again. Garbage also kind of goes on to talk about, and I feel like these lyrics are so beautiful right here, where he says, I'm biting down on my shirt sleeve, I'll lash out if you're in arm's reach. I'm so lost, like what is happening? I feel like garbage. Like he is, I'm telling you, if I had this song when I was like 13 years old, it would have been my favorite song of all time, because like I heard this song and I was like, oh yeah, this is middle school right here. This is crazy. It just feels so much like, oh, I'm trying to close myself off completely from everyone. Like even like lashing out at people who are nearby him, because he just doesn't know what's going on, like why he's feeling the way he's feeling. Downstairs is a song about like kind of taking all of your beliefs and everything that you hold really dear to yourself and hiding it in a cellar that's safe and away from everyone. And I think that it kind of goes right in line with where Clancy is in the story, because he doesn't believe that the Bandidos had his best interests, so he wants to really just take everything that he believes and hold on to it, so that it's not challenged or anything, and that he can keep it like in a contained space. Some more themes that this album goes over is letting people down. This is something that we see in a few songs, most notably in the song Tally. I think Tally is just a song about Torchbearer. And I'm not the first one to point this out, but it like instantly hearing it, I was like, oh yeah, no, he's talking about Torchbearer. That's crazy. In the first verse, he says, I lost my rank and title. I turned my back on it, sold it all at a discount. I wanted to progress things. I wanted to set my soul free, lost it all at a discount. So he's literally giving away, like, I wanted to progress things. Like I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere with where the Bandidos were. And I decided to like abandon them so that I can try to focus on myself and get better. But now he's almost feeling like he's feeling regret for that, because he knows that Torchbearer really did help him. He talks about like he even feels like he lost the count with how many times he's let Torchbearer down. But even through all of that, Torchbearer still believes in him, which goes right in hand with the I Am Torchbearer video and just where Torchbearer has been in all of this. And even just the idea of like Clancy just kind of assuming that Torchbearer was always keeping track of all the times that he let him down, that he breached his trust. Like it's not even necessarily something that Torchbearer was probably doing, but it's something that he really felt was true and he was kind of holding against himself. We have other lyrics about letting people down. In the song Downstairs, Clancy talks about like feeling ashamed, feeling like he's a rundown. He used to be afraid of nothing, but he's just ashamed to show his face now. I honestly feel like these lyrics and just the whole song of Downstairs is it's like one of my favorites on the album. I think it's because it reminds me so much of Self-Titled and even No Fun Intended. If Downstairs was on No Fun Intended, I would not even bat an eye. Like it just feels perfectly like it would fit in No Fun Intended. I feel like a lot of the lyrics from No Fun Intended and from Self-Titled is like Tyler kind of dealing with his religious beliefs. This song feels a lot like that. And I feel like that's kind of what this is talking about right here. But if we want to relate it to the lore, I think it is him feeling like ashamed to even show his face after he felt like he was really with these people, with the Bandidos and on their side. But now he's kind of having second thoughts about that, and he's ashamed to even show himself to them, even though I bet they probably wouldn't even have like negative feelings about him, but it's just kind of all in his head in a sense. We also have these lyrics from Center Mass at the end of it, where he talks about feeling ashamed for the fact that he took someone's life for granted when they were with him before they passed away. He says, I don't want to say what happened, I just want to let it go. Nothing felt the same right after I went to the funeral. I miss you so much. Take what you want from me, took you for granted. I think this song, especially because it comes right before Cottonwood, is kind of talking about who who Cottonwood is talking about. So we're going to talk about Cottonwood now and kind of how it relates to the song Legend from Trench. Tyler has said that Cottonwood is a song about his grandfather who passed away and kind of about like everything that he went through with that. And I don't know if this is the same grandpa from Legend, because I know that Legend is also about his grandpa who passed away. I don't know if this is a different grandpa or if this is the same grandpa, but I feel like the point I'm about to make still kind of sticks no matter who it is. The song Legend is a really beautiful song in the context of Trench, because the song Neon Gravestones, for example, was talking a lot about embracing people for who they are as they are living, and appreciating them in their living flesh and not glorifying them after they've passed away. Legend was a song about his grandfather who passed away, but it was more so like a celebration of his life and everything that he did in his life rather than being in a state of mourning. He says, "You're a legend in my own mind, my middle name, my goodbye. The day that it happened, I recorded this last bit. I look forward to having a lunch with you again." And it's a really, I feel like just for how it fits in Trench, it's so beautiful, and it's sad, but it's also like, it's a really cute song just about him wanting to like kind of reconnect with his grandfather in the future. It's more of like a hopeful song, I guess. Cottonwood is kind of like the exact opposite of Legend, even though it is talking about his grandfather, because the song is very much Tyler kind of, at least the way I interpret it, it's like Tyler kind of dealing with the guilt of feeling like he didn't appreciate his life when he was there. He talks about like looking back in time through his telescope and seeing his reflection looking back at him. And the way I interpret it is like you kind of like look through a telescope and then you kind of catch yourself like through the reflection of the lens looking at yourself, as if like you are like, as if like even in the moments that you should be appreciating, you are still kind of looking back. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't know. I would honestly love to hear Tyler talk about what exactly these lyrics mean, but the way I saw it is like Tyler feels like even in times where he would look back and try to appreciate where he's at, he feels like he wasn't, like in that moment, he wasn't appreciating them in the moment. And I feel like he has a lot of guilt for that. And to kind of relate it to the lore, I feel like the Bandidos encouraged a lot of like embracing people in their life and not really dwelling on the past. And I feel like Clancy now is kind of, now that he's not with the Bandidos and not in Trench, he finds himself like really not knowing how to deal with loss and how to deal with feeling like he didn't appreciate moments of his life that he felt like he should have appreciated, and just the guilt that comes with that. Overall, the album of Breach feels a lot like Clancy. It is very similar to Clancy, which makes a lot of sense because I don't think that this album was intended. I think this album came out because Tyler had made like 3 songs that he wanted to add on to Clancy after Clancy came out, but then he was like, wait, I have like 13 songs now because I just kept making music, and now we're gonna make another album, I guess. It feels a lot like Clancy, but it's more like isolated, and it gives us more answers to kind of where Clancy's mindset is at. And it feels a lot more sad at times, which is really, it kind of heartbreaking to say that's where the last album has taken us. However, even with talking about the lyrics, like we could talk about the lyrics forever, I feel like, but what is the solution or the ending to all of this as far as the lore goes? That is something that we're not going to find out in the lyrics of the songs. We have to watch the music video for City Walls, which is what we're going to do right now. We're going to talk about City Walls. This music video, I gave high praise to Paladin Straight when we were talking about that music video, and I still think that is a good music video, but somehow they outdid themselves. This is a better music video, and it's so, God, like it's so good. It's so crazy. Like watching this for the first time was an insane moment. I was so locked into my screen. Like I don't think I blinked a single time watching this 10-minute long music video. So, we finally get to see what happens after Paladin Straight, after like they teased us for like a whole year on this. The video begins with Torchbearer and the Bandidos actually heading into the city walls so that they can go like get to Clancy. All while this is happening, Clancy is experiencing the events of the contract because he's still being seized by Nico. Once Clancy snaps out of like the trance that he is in, he starts to like attack Nico, and they get into like this crazy battle. And all while their battle is happening, Torchbearer and the Bandidos start climbing the stairs to the tower. Clancy gets knocked over by Nico, and gets thrown into this flashback where he is now in the Heavy Dirty Soul music video, which was a crazy moment because the Heavy Dirty Soul music video is the first music video to the entire lore. This is where everything started. He goes back there, he sees the car on fire, and then he sees Nico is there. Clancy, like, seeing him, he kind of gets scared and he runs away. And then he gets knocked over again and he gets thrown into the Levitate music video. From here, he kind of experiences the same thing where he sees Nico from a distance, he tries to run away, he gets knocked over, and now he's in the jumpsuit music video. So we cycle through 3 different music videos where Nico is now present, where he previously wasn't necessarily present, at least in those moments of the music video. I think that the takeaway from that is it's very much Nico trying to taunt Clancy and say, like, hey, even in these moments where you were outside of Dima's control, where you were like outside of the walls and you were with the Banditos, like you were really trying to like better yourself, I was still there. Nico was still there. His insecurities, his dark thoughts were always haunting him. And it's kind of like him trying to be like, you're never going to get over this thing that you're dealing with. That's what I kind of interpreted from this, because specifically they chose these music videos. Like if they had done like the Saturday music video or like something else, then it wouldn't have made as much sense. It had to be the ones like from the Trench era, from the Blurryface era. And the fact that like in all 3 of these instances, Clancy did run away. Like he is still very much scared of Nico. And I think that he did that on purpose. Like Nico did that on purpose, knowing that he was going to run away because he wanted to make him feel powerless. So then eventually back in the tower, away from these flashbacks, Nico stabs Clancy in the shoulders with the antlers and Clancy falls to the ground. At this point, Torchbearer has finally made it to the top of the tower. He's about to open the door. Nico destroys the antlers that Clancy had. We then cut back to the 3 flashbacks from the other music videos, and we see Clancy turn around to actually face Nico and like to actually like have the courage to fight back against him. Then we see outside of the flashback, Clancy actually stand up after he's been stabbed by Nico. And then, okay, this all happens really quickly, so just bear with me. But Clancy does like the 21 Pilots hand symbol over his head, which is like so that was a crazy thing to see for the first time. I was like, what the heck? He's actually, this is what he's doing in this video? That's insane. It causes an explosion that like blasts Nico out of the window and it just kills him. But then while that happens, Torchbearer also opens the door. And as he opens the door, the explosion like knocks him back and he flies back like outside of the door. And all of the Banditos like enter the room before Torchbearer does. So then Torchbearer enters the room and he watches as Clancy takes the red drapes from the windows. He wraps it around him as if it's like a red robe. And then we reveal that he's got the black makeup on. He is now a bishop. This was this was such a tragic thing to see. I kind of knew once I saw him going for the red drapes that like I was like, oh no, it's over. He's actually becoming a bishop. I kind of was holding out hope that this wasn't going to happen. I thought that maybe the cycle will happen, but it's just going to be Clancy's back in the car. But no, it's that Clancy is now the bishop. That's how this cycle is happening. I think the message that can be assumed here is that destroying the bad parts of yourself is not going to like fix you. You need to kind of like come at peace with it. So like even though he killed Nico, Nico is still him. Like even way back when we were talking about Blurryface, like Blurryface was the alter ego of Tyler. Like it was not like, oh, Blurryface is a whole separate person. It was still Tyler. And I think that is a really important thing to keep here, is like this idea of accepting the fact that like, hey, you are still your darkest thoughts. Like even though it's not like what you want your whole identity to be, it is still a part of you. If you try so hard to like deny that is your identity, then it's only going to make things worse. The music part of the music video ends with the beginning of the Heavy Dirty Soul intro, implying that this is a cycle and that Clancy is like he's gonna be the one driving the car in the Heavy Dirty Soul music video when we get to that point. And there's gonna be a different Clancy, just someone else. And then that Clancy will eventually take over and destroy Nico, who is Clancy now, and then become the new Nico. And it's gonna be like a loop that just keeps happening. So then Clancy begins handing out the red robes to all of the Banditos. And when he gets to Torchbearer to give him the robe, Torchbearer gives him like the most devastated look that it like, honestly, I think I just want to say shout out to Debbie Ryan for giving Josh like firsthand acting lessons. I'm assuming that's what happened because he absolutely killed it in this video, and just the look on his face is like, it's the most tragic, like, because it's like Torchbearer genuinely believed in Clancy. Like, he genuinely believed that this was going to be the time that he broke the cycle, and just to see that not happen, and to see Clancy try to offer like, hey Torch, you should follow me, and Torch is like, bro, come on, that's not what we were doing here. Like, are you serious? I thought you were better than this. Like, it's so sad. It's really tragic. But then obviously Torchbearer does not accept it, and he ends up leaving. All of the other banditos take him, and now there are 9 new bishops, and the cycle is going to continue now. Later, a bandito comes up to Torchbearer and says, I really liked this Clancy, which implies that Torchbearer has kind of been through this process as many times as Clancy has. If anything, Torchbearer is more in a cycle than Clancy is, because he has been, every time that Clancy has started the cycle, he's been there to help him out, and every time he genuinely believes like, maybe this is going to be the time that Clancy actually breaks the cycle, but then it doesn't happen. And it's really sad, but the takeaway from this, and what I think is so beautiful, is just how Torchbearer responds. He says, that's not Clancy up there anymore. He's out there somewhere. We will try again, always. Even after he's been, and I feel like this even just goes back to the lyrics of Tally, like, no matter how many times this is going to happen, he's still going to believe in him, and he's still going to like trust that one day he's going to break the cycle. It's sad because I feel like you can tell, like, I mean, we couldn't see the other times obviously that the cycle happens, but I feel like this time specifically, Torch really believed like this is going to be the time that he breaks the cycle, and then it didn't happen, and it's so sad. But that is the end of the City Walls music video. Before we end it though, I do want to talk about the song Intentions and just kind of like some interpretations of the end of the lore, because that is officially the end of the lore. The credits rolled at the end of that video. Also, I think this is really cool. The story of Dima is written by Tyler Joseph, Josh Dunn, Brandon Reich, Mark Eshelman, and you. I definitely wasn't making a whole lot of like theory videos or anything like in the process of this, but I do think that the people who were making theory videos like early on during Trench came out and all the way through like Scaled and Icy and through Clancy, like I think Tyler genuinely took that as like, all right, we're gonna put this in the lore. We're gonna like actually try to incorporate some of these theories that people have. Who even knows if it was meant to be a cycle? I remember hearing about the cycle theory like a long time ago, like I think like way back in like Trench. I don't even know if that's what was intended, but hey, I'm glad that we got an incredible story, like a really good ending to a really sad ending, but still an ending that comes full circle. And I love stories that have endings like that, where it feels like just the entire work of art was really working towards something that felt like, yes, this should have been the ending. It shouldn't have been anything else. But anyways, the song Intentions, Tyler has stated, is a song about processing the events of the City Walls music video. The lyrics here are, I am starting it all over again. Did I learn a thing? Intentions are everything. Intentions will set you free. Talking directly about the cycle, like he's starting it all over again. He feels like he didn't learn anything from it, but he says intentions will set you free. Intentions are everything. How I interpret this is that Clancy is starting to accept that, hey, this cycle is just going to keep happening, but it's the fact that as long as you were trying the whole time, as long as your intentions were, hey, I want to get better, I want to better myself, then you did get something out of it. And even through the process, even if you feel like you're back at square one, the fact that you even had the courage to fight back is like, that's the intentions that you should hold on to. Even the lyric right here, like intentions lack memory. Like when you get the courage to fight back, you're not really thinking about like, oh, what if it's gonna mess up like it did last time? Like you don't remember that. You're only thinking of like, I want to help myself and I want to better myself. And Tyler is saying right here that you should just really focus on that. You should focus on the intentions that are good. Even if at the end of it, you're going to feel like you didn't learn anything. You still did learn something because you did have the courage to fight back. When you reverse the song, you can hear Truce, which is a song that like encourages you to keep fighting back. Truce is a very important song to a lot of people because of how much courage it has given people. The song is specifically about suicide and about staying alive, even if it just means for another day. And it acknowledges, even like right here, it acknowledges like, I will fear the night again. I hope I'm not my only friend. I feel like this lyric right here, it kind of like perfectly sums up the lore. And it's so crazy that that's like, if you were to put this in intentions, it would make total sense with where Clancy is right now. I don't know. It's so beautiful how it like all comes full circle and how much Truce is connected to the lore now. Because to a lot of people, Truce is like, it is like the epitome of everything that 21 Pilots is. Like encouraging you to like fight back and to keep going. And the fact that like that's kind of how the lore ended too, it's I don't know, it's so perfect. I feel like it's such a beautiful work of art. I don't know. So then a few hours after Breach came out, I think it was like the morning after, because the album came out like technically the night before. A few hours after that though, the Breach digital remains were released, and they did this back with Clancy, the Clancy digital remains, but it was just a lot of pictures and a lot of like pictures of like lyrics, that like handwritten lyrics that Tyler had. And that's what this was, but it also had a bonus track, and the song is called Drag Path, and you still can't really find the song on streaming. I was able to get my hands on this song, and it is like genuinely, I think, one of my favorite 21 Pilots songs. It's so beautiful. It also, I feel like, is a song that perfectly encapsulates like where the lore is, and like it's like accepting the fact that this cycle is going to keep going. The way I interpret the song is that I believe it's a song about Clancy talking to Torchbearer about trying to find the next Clancy, like trying to find the next person in the cycle using the evidence that he left behind. And Clancy knows that he's going to be okay as long as he finds Torchbearer, because Torchbearer was such a big help for Clancy, even if the cycle does not break that time. In these lyrics, he says, "When I see the devil's eyes, I'll look away and smile wide. You found me, because then I'll know you're also there. Because proof is in the adversary, you found me." The devil's eyes, I'm assuming, is Nico, and the I know you're also there is Torchbearer. And when you look at it from that perspective, you kind of start to see like what I'm saying about this. Like when he gets in these really dark spots, he knows that Torchbearer is looking over him and that he is going to come back and help him through this. And that's why he smiles wide, because he's like, I know that I can get through this as long as I have Torchbearer. And I think you can also look at this from a religious perspective. I think definitely that is something that Tyler kind of used as influence for the lore in general. He goes on to say, "A drag path etched in the surface as evidence I left there on purpose. I dug my heels in the gravel as evidence for you to unravel." So it's kind of like all these things that he left behind for Torchbearer, like just like things that he's been through, things that he's suffered through and gone through, is like things that Torchbearer will eventually find in order to get to Clancy. Like it's almost like he's putting so much trust in these things that he left behind in the aftermath of what he was going through, because he knows that it's going to be like what Torchbearer uses to like come and find Clancy again. And it's also just he's putting so much trust in Torchbearer that he is going to find him again, which I think is just really beautiful. The song ends with, "Then the sun begins to rise, we made it through the darkest night, you found me," which is so crazy. It like literally copied and pasted from Truce, basically. that's where it is. A lot of people interpret this lyric also as like, hey, like the cycle has ended now, and Torchbearer is kind of what helped him get out of that. But I think it also could be interpreted as like, I made it through another really awful cycle, but at least Torchbearer was there and he helped me get through that. So from that is the end of the lore. Don't click off the video yet, because there's one more like really big thing that I haven't mentioned yet about the lore. Just really quickly, I think that anything else that happens in the lore, if it happens like during the tour, if there is anything else that comes during the tour, I don't think it's going to be anything crazy or groundbreaking. I think that this is actually just the end. It's just going to be supplementary to what we currently have, like maybe some hints of like learning more about like what Clancy was going through when he was separated from the Banditos, or just like little things that kind of like complete the full puzzle. But I don't think we're actually going to be getting anything like new. We're not going to get any more videos. Like this is it. The story's done. Again, I could be eating up my words. As I said, today is September 18th. The Cincinnati show is happening tonight, and it's the first show. I'm not going to watch any videos from it though, because I want to stay spoiler free from all this. I will be going to 2 of the concerts for the Breach tour, it's called the Clancy World Tour Breach. I will be at the Chula Vista show and the first LA show. I'm so excited. I've been to 4 21 Pilots concerts before. These will be my 5th and my 6th. I don't know. I feel like this is, because the lore is now like ending, like this is gonna have such a different vibe, I feel like, and it's just gonna be such an emotional night, such an emotional couple of nights. Also, I was wondering, and leave a comment if you want, if this is something that you'd be interested in, I was thinking of doing a video where I just talk about, like, I do like a ranking of each of the albums and just talk about like what the albums mean to me. Not even necessarily talking about the lore, just like what the songs mean to me, like what they sound like, why I like them, but also like what the lyrics are talking about. I don't know. Let me know if that sounds interesting, because I saw a lot of people on TikTok like ranking the albums, and I was like, I kind of want to do that, but like I need to explain myself for each of the albums. Just let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in seeing from me on this channel. One last thing though, the thing that I just mentioned that I kind of wanted to keep you here for is that I believe that Clancy will break the cycle, even if it takes a long time. And we have evidence of this from the City Walls music video. The black makeup that goes over Blurryface or Nico, like the black makeup kind of would like be representative of this character Blurryface and of his insecurities. We can see on Nico, it goes like right over his nose, but when Clancy destroys him and becomes the next Nico, we now see that the black makeup just goes like over his lower lip. That's it. It doesn't go over his nose. It's kind of implying that like with every cycle that comes, he's slowly breaking away at it, and over time the cycle will break. It may take a long time for it to get like, you know, completely off of him and then it's done, but it's kind of a hopeful ending to the lore. It's not quite like the, oh yay, Clancy completely broke the cycle, but it's like Clancy will eventually break the cycle. It's just going to take a little bit. But yeah, that's officially the end. Thank you so much for watching. These are the sources that I used for kind of putting all this together, this whole slideshow. You can check them out. I'll be putting all the links in the description. But with that, thank you so much, and I'll see you later.